This is a Tybootha presentation, a deep dive into Neville Goddard's Feeling is the Secret.
Neville Goddard, yeah, 20th century writer,
Hmm.
speaker, really became quite influential with his ideas on, well, the law of attraction, consciousness.
Right, the power within consciousness.
Exactly. And feeling is the secret. It's short, isn't it? But wow, it packs a punch.
Definitely. It really drills down into how to actually realize your desires. He presents this mechanism, you could say, for how we create the visible world.
Yeah, he says it's the mechanism, a small book, but it promises a pretty clear path to getting what you dream of.
Which is refreshing because so many books on this stuff can get confusing, right?
Hmm.
It reminds me of that old saying Neville actually quotes in the book.
Oh, the one about perfecting an art.
Yeah, he that would perfect himself in any art whatsoever, let him betake himself to the reading of some sure and certain work upon his art many times over.
For to read many books upon your art produceth confusion rather than learning. Hmm. It fits perfectly.
It really does. And that's kind of our aim here today, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're not trying to juggle a dozen different techniques. We're really focusing in, doing that deep dive into this book, what Neville presents as that Sherman and certain work.
So we'll unpack the core ideas from Feeling is the Secret and hopefully give you some, practical ways to think about applying them.
Let's do it. Where should we start? Chapter 1 seems logical.
Agreed. Chapter 1, Law and its Operation. He starts right off with the foundation.
Okay, yeah, the big one, consciousness. Neville's core idea here is that consciousness isn't just like observing reality, it's the source.
The cause and the substance, he says.
Right. The whole world is conditioned consciousness made visible, objectified. Basically, your thoughts, when you feel them, become the actual stuff your subconscious works with.
And he splits consciousness into two parts, the conscious and the subconscious.
Hmm. The conscious mind, that's the personal, the selective part. It operates in the world of effects, what we see around us. He calls it the male principle.
Which isn't about gender, obviously. It's more like the active idea-generating part.
Exactly, the part that impresses, and then there's the subconscious. Impersonal, totally non-selective, that's the realm of cause, the female or receptive principle.
And the way they interact is key. The conscious mind comes up with the ideas.
And then, crucially, it has to impress those ideas onto the subconscious.
Right, because the subconscious doesn't really invent its own stuff, does it? It just receives.
It receives, and then its job is to give those ideas form, to express them in our experience. That sequence conscious idea, felt, impressed on subconscious. That's apparently the absolute blueprint for how anything gets created.
Okay, but here's the bit that really stands out for me. The how. How does that impression happen?
Feeling. That's it. Simple as that, according to Neville.
Just feeling. You can think about something all day long, but if you don't feel it,
It doesn't sink in.
yeah.
It won't take root in the subconscious, in that creative soil. So feeling isn't just, an emotion floating around. It's the actual delivery system.
The medium of conveyance, he calls it.
Yeah. And once an idea is felt, genuinely felt, Neville insists it has to be expressed. Good, bad, doesn't matter. If it's felt, it manifests.
Which really puts the emphasis on controlling our feelings, doesn't it?
Hugely important. But it's not about squashing feelings down, not suppression.
No, it's more like discipline. Training yourself to imagine and, more importantly, to feel only the states that lead to your happiness, your goals.
That's a really critical distinction, intentional cultivation. And he's quite strong on this. Don't dwell on flaws, yours or anyone else's. Don't sympathize with things you see as wrong.
He even says don't feel like bad things are happening to you or others. That seems like a tall order sometimes, but he presents it as like the whole secret to a happy life.
Well, yeah. And he explains why with the idea of dominant feelings, every feeling leaves an imprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have two feelings fighting it out, the stronger one wins. The one you feel most intensely or consistently, that's what gets expressed.
Like his example, I am healthy versus I will be healthy.
Exactly. The feeling behind I am, that conviction, that present reality is way more powerful than feeling something is off in the future, something that isn't here yet.
So to get what you want, you have to feel it as if it's already true now, not later.
Which ties right into sensation preceding manifestation. Be really aware of your moods, your feelings, because there's this unbroken link between your inner state and your outer world.
He even connects it to the body, suggesting our physical health reflects our dominant emotion.
Right. And he suggests that holding on to, Suppressed negative feelings can actually cause disease not just in the body, but in your environment too, your circumstances.
Wow. So it's not about ignoring feelings, but consciously choosing where to place your emotional focus.
Precisely. Think from the state desired. Feel the reality of it now, live, and act based on that conviction. That's what he calls the way of all seeming miracles.
So change your feeling, change your expression, change your destiny. Simple, but not necessarily easy.
Definitely not easy. But the power lies in the subconscious. So the goal is to get, what does he call it? Reflective control.
Reflective control over the subconscious by managing your ideas and feelings.
Yeah. Which completely throws out the idea of luck or fate being set in stone.
Right, because it's our subconscious impressions that are actually creating the conditions. And the subconscious, well, it doesn't judge.
It's non-selective. It just accepts whatever you feel is true. Doesn't matter if it's objectively true or not, or good or bad. Feeling is its way of saying, okay, got it.
Feeling is the ascent of the subconscious. That's a powerful line.
It really is. And because it works like that, Neville says, look, nothing's impossible if you can conceive it and genuinely feel it as true.
The subconscious can and must objectify it, bring it into form.
Our feelings literally create the pattern, the blueprint for our world.
Yeah.
Changing the feeling changes the blueprint.
And the subconscious never messes up the job, right, once it gets the feeling.
It starts working immediately to produce the likeness of that feeling out there in the world. It doesn't argue. It doesn't edit your beliefs. It just mirrors them back to you.
So if you want something desirable, you absolutely have to assume the feeling you have if you already had it.
Yes. Focus only on the end result, the wish fulfilled. Don't get bogged down in the how or the difficulties.
Because dwelling on the difficulties
Just impresses them.
Yeah.
The subconscious takes that feeling of difficulty as the order and goes, okay, more difficulties coming right up.
He calls the subconscious the womb of creation. It takes the idea via feeling, never changes it, always gives it form.
So feeling hopeless about something literally impresses failure. It's a sobering thought.
It is. And he clarifies the relationship. It's not master-servant commanding the subconscious.
No, it's more like a beloved wife, he says. It responds to persuasion, not command. And that persuasion is assuming the feeling.
The conscious mind is the head, the lover, not the tyrant.
Beautifully put. Assume the feeling. And the subconscious is moved, inspired to build the likeness of that feeling. Desires are accepted when you feel their reality.
Which brings us back to as within, so without. The outside is just a mirror.
Everything comes from inside, from the subconscious. You're only ever seeing the contents of your own consciousness made visible.
And then that really powerful bit, you are already what you want to be.
That's a big one.
The only reason you don't see it is because you refuse to believe it, to feel it as true. Looking outside for something you don't feel inside is pointless.
You only have and express what you are conscious of being or having. It really flips things on their head.
It does. So mastery isn't about controlling others or circumstances, it's self-control, controlling thoughts and feelings.
And until you get really good at that, at holding the feeling despite appearances, he points to two key tools.
Sleep and prayer, the two gateways to the subconscious.
Exactly. Which leads us nicely into Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Sleep.
Right. Sleep. We spend about a third of our lives doing it, and Neville says it's the natural door to the subconscious.
And the quality of our waking life is basically measured by the attention we give to sleep. That's a strong statement.
It is. He says approach it eagerly, like meeting a lover, because it's that important for creation. He even brings in the book of Job about dreams being a time of instruction.
And he connects sleep and prayer again, saying there's similar states where conscious and subconscious really connect, become one flesh.
During sleep, the conscious mind kind of lets go of the outside world and turns inward.
Towards the subconscious self. And the subconscious just faithfully takes whatever state the conscious mind is in as it drifts off.
And reproduces its likeness when you wake up. So building on the feeling part. Sleep is where you really plant those feelings.
So our life conditions are literally the children of those subconscious impressions made during sleep.
That's his model. Formed in the image of our innermost feelings, revealing us to ourselves.
As in heaven, so on earth becomes as in the subconscious, so on earth.
Precisely. What you carry into sleep, in terms of consciousness, measures what you'll express when you're awake.
And the only thing stopping you is the failure to feel you already are what you wish to be.
The subconscious needs that feeling of the wish fulfilled to give it form.
He says the unconsciousness of sleep is the subconscious's normal state. So rule number 1, always feel the wish fulfilled before sleep.
Because you draw to you what you are. And what you are is determined by what you feel yourself and others to be.
So the wish has to become a feeling, the feeling of being it, having it, witnessing it. Assume that feeling.
And that feeling you get when you ask, how would I feel if this were real? That feeling should dominate your mind as you relax into sleep. Be in that consciousness before you drift off.
Because once you're asleep, you're not consciously choosing anymore.
Right. Your whole sleep is dominated by that last waking concept of yourself. So make it a good one. Feelings of accomplishment, satisfaction.
He brings in the Psalms here too, gratitude before sleep.
Yeah, because that mood defines the state you're taking into the subconscious. And the subconscious sees you exactly as you feel yourself to be.
So if you go to sleep feeling, I am successful,
You must become successful. That's the logic.
he gives that technique. Lie flat, head level, feel the wish possessed, and just relax into unconsciousness with that feeling.
Simple but potent. And remember, the subconscious itself never sleeps. Sleep is just the door for the conscious mind to join it creatively.
Sleep hides the creative act. The world reveals it later.
In sleep, man impresses his self-conception. He uses that Song of Solomon analogy again.
Seeking the beloved, the fulfilled wish in the night, the subconscious.
Take that feeling into the chamber of her that conceived me, the subconscious, so she can give birth to it in the world.
So the nightly practice is clear. Assume the feeling of being, having, witnessing what you want. Never sleep discouraged, dissatisfied, or feeling like a failure.
Because as you feel, you impress her, the subconscious, the perfect lover, and she gives form to those impressions.
Adopt that attitude. Thou art all fair, my love. There is no spot in thee. Feel things as you wish them to be. Ignore current appearances.
It's like calling things not seen as though they were. Assuming the feeling of satisfaction calls forth conditions that match it.
Signs follow, they don't precede. Proof comes after the consciousness of being.
We're eternal dreamers dreaming non-eternal dreams. The dreams become real when we assume the feeling of their reality.
And don't limit yourself by the past. Nothing is impossible to consciousness.
Imagine states beyond anything you've known. Whatever the mind can imagine and feel is real, man can realize. Objective states were subjective first.
The process. First imagine, then believe. Feel the imagined state. Always imagine and expect the best.
And the world changes only when your conception of it changes. As within, so without, applies everywhere, even to nations.
No one to change but yourself. Your own consciousness is the key.
Convince yourself of the truth of your desire. Results have to follow to confirm that fixed belief. Don't try to change others directly. Convince yourself they already are what you desire them to be.
Realization comes by assuming the feeling. You only fail if you fail to convince yourself of its reality. Change of belief equals change of expression.
So every night, feel satisfied, feel spotless. Your subjective lover, subconscious, shapes the objective world from your feeling.
Waking life just corroborates those subconscious impressions. Actions and events are effects, not causes.
Which brings him back to free will. It's the freedom to choose your mood.
But the expression of the mood is the secret of the subconscious. It only takes impressions through feeling and always gives them form.
So our actions are determined by those impressions. The feeling of free will is often just ignorance of the real causes.
When awake, we're compelled to express those impressions.
So if you don't like what's happening, change your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Don't dwell on past mistakes that just reinfects you.
Let the dead bury their dead. Turn from appearances. Assume the feeling of who you wish to be.
Because feeling a state produces that state. Your role in life is determined by your self-conception.
Feel the wish fulfilled. Relax into sleep. You've just cast yourself in a star role for tomorrow. You get rehearsed and instructed while asleep.
Acceptance of the end wills the means. If you don't consciously feel the answered wish before sleep,
You just take the day's random reactions and feelings into the subconscious.
and while you sleep, you're shown how those reactions will play out tomorrow. You wake up thinking you're free, but your actions are predetermined by that sleep state.
So the only real freedom is freedom of reaction. How you choose to feel about the day's drama. But the drama itself.
Is largely set by previous impressions. Unless you consciously define your attitude going to sleep, you default to the day's mixed bag of feelings.
Every reaction makes an impression, causes future action, unless you counter it with a stronger feeling.
Ideas wrapped in feeling those are creative actions. Use your divine right wisely. Think and feel intentionally.
Awake, you're the gardener selecting seeds. Falling asleep with a self-conception plants that seed. Sleep satisfied and confirming conditions must follow.
Sleep is the door to heaven. What you take in as feeling, you bring out as condition. Sleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. As in consciousness, so on earth.
Okay, that covers sleep. Powerful stuff. Now, chapter 3, prayer.
Prayer. Another entrance to the subconscious, Neville says.
He references Matthew. Go into your closet, shut the door, pray in secret.
He sees prayer as, interestingly, an illusion of sleep,
Hmm.
a state that quiets the outer world, makes the mind receptive to inner suggestion.
Like that relaxed state just before you fall asleep.
Exactly. And he stresses prayer isn't really about what you ask for.
It's how you prepare for reception. He quotes Mark, "Believe you have received when you pray."
That's the only condition, believing your prayer is already realized.
Your prayer must be answered, he claims, if you assume the feeling of already having your objective, the moment you accept the wish as fact.
The subconscious gets to work finding the means. So successful prayer means yielding to the wish, feeling it fulfilled now.
He contrasts the disciplined person with the undisciplined here.
Right. The disciplined person is always kind of tuned into the wish as fact. They know consciousness is the only reality. Ideas and feelings are facts to them, as real as chairs and tables.
So they naturally avoid feelings that don't contribute to happiness because they know those feelings are causes.
Whereas the undisciplined person struggles, right?
Yeah.
They struggle to believe what their senses deny. They judge based on appearances.
So for them, it's crucial to shut out the senses before praying, before trying to feel what the senses say isn't there.
Otherwise, you get stuck in that "I'd like to, but I can't" loop. And the harder you try consciously, the less you actually yield to the feeling.
Because you attract what you are conscious of being, not just what you want.
So prayer is the art of assuming the feeling of being and having what you want, not begging for it.
And if your senses are screaming, it's not here, trying to mentally fight that feeling is useless. It just makes the feeling of lack stronger.
Feeling wins when it conflicts with the wish. The dominant feeling expresses itself. So prayer has to be without effort, without strain. Effort is fatal when you're trying to adopt an attitude your senses deny.
So how do you yield successfully? Create a passive state.
Yeah, like a reverie, a meditative state, similar to that pre-sleep feeling. Relaxed mind turns away from the outside world, becomes sensitive to subjective reality.
You're conscious, you could move, but you just don't want to.
He gives that technique again. Relax, chair or bed, close eyes. Imagine being sleepy.
Yeah.
Feel I am sleepy. Get that far away, lazy feeling. Comfortable rest.
And in that passive state, imagine the wish fulfilled. Not how, just the end result.
Picture it, maybe. But most importantly, feel yourself having already achieved it. Feel the satisfaction, the relief, whatever it is.
He even mentions thoughts becoming like tiny speech movements you can almost hear in that state.
But he adds, you don't have to get into that super deep state. Just create a passive state and feel the wish fulfilled. That's the core of it.
And remember, everything you need or desire is already yours, potentially. No helper needed.
You call desires into being by imagining and feeling the wish fulfilled.
And accepting the end makes you indifferent to failure. Acceptance wills the means.
Emerging from prayer like that is like knowing the end of the play. You saw the happy ending, so even if the middle bits get tense, you're calm and secure because you know how it turns out.
Right. You've witnessed the end internally. Okay, that leads us to the final chapter, chapter 4, Spirit Feeling.
Yes, and he kicks it off with Zechariah. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts.
And crucially, he defines spirit here as...
Feeling, your capacity to feel.
So get into the spirit of the state means get into the feeling of it. Assume the feeling of already being the one you want to be.
And when you capture that feeling, all the effort to make it happen just dissolves. Because in consciousness, it's already so.
Every idea has a definite feeling attached to it, so capture the feeling of your realized wish by assuming you already have it.
And your wish will objectify itself. It has to.
Faith is feeling, he quotes Matthew again. According to your faith, feeling, be it unto you.
It hammers home that point. You attract what you are defined by your feeling, not just what you want.
He brings up those gospel verses again. To him that hath.
It shall be given.
Yeah.
His take is, what you feel yourself to be, you are. And you get more of what you are.
So assume the feeling of already having your wish, and it must be realized.
He connects it back to Genesis, created in God's image, and Philippians having the mind of Christ, who knew his equality with God.
You are what you believe yourself to be, fundamentally.
And his interpretation of John 14:12, he that believes as I believe shall do the works that I do also.
Jesus believed himself to be one with the Father. I and my Father are one.
So it was natural for him to do God's works. And it's natural for us to do the works or manifest the reality of the one we believe ourselves to be.
Live in the feeling of being who you want to be and you shall be. It's a command almost.
And believing in this advice, applying it, that very act establishes the reality of success within you.
So wrapping this all up then, this deep dive into feeling is the secret. What's the core takeaway?
I mean, it comes down to feeling, doesn't it? The real power to shape things isn't out there, it's inside, in your feelings.
And it's practical. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Use sleep, use prayer as focused ways to do that.
It really puts the power back in your hands. You're the
Yes.
creator through your consciousness, specifically through how you direct your feeling.
Which circles right back to that quote at the start about confusion versus learning from one sure work.
Exactly. So now that you've taken this deep dive with us, explored these ideas,
The real question is, how will you consciously cultivate your feelings? How will you use this to manifest your desires?
it's something to really sit with, to explore personally, taking these ideas off the page and into your life.
Definitely food for thought. Hopefully this has given you some valuable, actionable insights into Neville's potent little book.